Okay, so we're gonna start in 1936, where the Nazis are still in control of Germany. Now, the first thing that they would do is, they just start, um, rebuilding their stuff. But then, so they, like, basically, like, reform, like, their industry and stuff, and, like, their armies and stuff, until a revolt happens. So, dark stone gray would represent the Nazis, and the original light one would represent the rebels. And these rebels, they start out pretty small. They do not have access over the Rhineland, where most of the German industry is. Anyway, so the only parts that the rebellions do have control over is Hamburg, which is their capital. Basically, just over around here. Parts of Mecklenburg. They also have nowhere near Berlin. Well, except for Mecklenburg, that is kind of near Berlin. They have some control over Bavaria. Like just these two bits, but they also have, like, that island too, as well as this one. But anyway, so the first thing that happens is that they break out, and the Nazis are surprised about this, so they start, trying to mobilize their army to attack. And let me just, change. So it's actually the military that's rebelling. And the first thing that they do is they connect these two parts. They connect their Hamburg region with Mecklenburg, encircling these people. Eli, not Eli. Right, guys, just wait. Anyway, so eventually they get encirclement around here. So, and they destroy it, which is actually very good for them, but bad for them. Down here, they were able to push just a little bit, eventually reaching Munich, but they got pushed back out of Munich and back to there, which they were able to hold. But while these fronts were already fighting, um, more uprisings occurred in these regions, these two bits right here and here, and then a couple in the Rhineland, and some in the central heart of Germany. So now they have to take some of the men from here and here to crush them, which allowed them to move up a lot. eventually connecting with a lot of their stuff, but the ones that they couldn't connect to got destroyed. Now over here, all ports were taken by the rebels, and any troops that were stationed here were destroyed. So now they have complete control over this, and now they launched a naval invasion here, which they got another encirclement, and they destroyed it. They took these islands, they pushed to there, and then they decided to make a massive spearhead to encircle these regions, which stopped there, but they had to like peel some from like over here, which most of him was there, so they decided to make a distraction front there, which then they had to peel some more to defend the river because they knew they could hold it. But that was a mistake, as up by here it was a threatening for encirclement, so they had no choice but to use a lot of their resources to push them back, and they didn't have any to guard this part, so not port. So now these regions are encircled and they started to get pushed. Now they were able to hold these regions like over here and here because of the rivers, but up and around here had trouble, but they managed to hold out until for a while. But anyway, down by here, another rebellion uprose, eventually taking these areas, pushing until reinforcements came, which those reinforcements were mainly from here. And the junta managed to push them, no, I didn't mean to take that, all the way to Dresden, which I think Dresden's right, maybe like there. It might be it's in one of these two. I'm just gonna say it's like right there. So anyway, so they're on the gates of Dresden now, and this pocket started to lose some of its supplies, so that the retreat, since they couldn't hold a massive front line, and since this area was mainly guarding rivers, they had to retreat too. This still held on, but eventually they retreated to these two, which they managed to hold on for a little bit longer. Meanwhile, the Reich only had a little bit part to the sea, but they didn't have any naval supremacy anymore because their navy was destroyed, and since they can't sail through these tiny bits because of artillery that could destroy them, they're whatever's left of their navy. But anyway, another spearhead occurred. This time it's going. Oh, I didn't mean to take that. Why do we keep on taking that stuff? It was meant to distract down there, going to the southern areas of Berlin, which it did go good until it stopped. But then they managed to push into Dresden in Saxony, and they continued to push until they got an encirclement around there, and it was quickly destroyed because not many troops are there. The Germans lost complete access to the Polish border, which they also have a massive river now, which can stop the advance from the east. So now they only had to really worry about the west, which was still pushing in some places, but slowed down. These troops got pushed back to that last bit, and if they go, then the troops that were stationed here could go to somewhere else and probably push in to make another encirclement and destroy that. Anyway, so now these people, this pocket's destroyed, and like they feared, they started pushing. They eventually pushed to there, and the river front eventually collapsed, And Hitler at this point just said that there's no point, he's gonna get captured, so he just starts thinking about moving himself or to evacuate with the last transport plane he has, which on a rainy and foggy day, it takes off from Berlin to Argentina, so the Reich will live on in Argentina, or will in South America. But anyway, at this point, Berlin falls, and they couldn't find Hitler anywhere, so they must have think that he killed himself and asked his men to get rid of his remains. But anyway, the Civil War is over, and now they can start rebuilding after the Civil War and start doing start saying everyone that we're not fascists anymore. We're just a military ruled country on like finding a path to do something new. But meanwhile, while that was happening, Hitler started getting supporters, eventually taking one small, like this part of Argentina from the Argentinian government. The Argentinian government allowed that to happen because there's not much things anywhere, not many people. But Hitler wasn't done there, as he then um, for some reason was able to invade this, like Paraguay, which had a stronger military than them, but they didn't know. But Argentina didn't know, nor Brazil or Chile, how they done that, so they started getting scared of them, of like him. But this news hasn't reached the German military junta, as they're blocking outside news because it could be like from fascist countries like Italy to like raise propaganda to the civilians who rise up against this new monarchist power. But anyway, they start by issuing uh, assembly. I don't know. I don't think that's how we write it, but who knows? So German assembly takes over the new German junta. But anyway, they're not done yet, as they asked for Poland to, if they can annex their former eastern front, like their former eastern lands for like protection, sort of thing, from any like powers like the Soviet Union or like some other strong one that could come after them. Mainly the Soviet Union, because they're right on, like right bordering them. And so they start thinking about it. But meanwhile, while they're thinking about it, they ask Lithuania for Memel, and they agree. Oh wait, that's the wrong color. And they also annex Luxembourg. Then they start giving backing Austria and claiming land from on getting lands from Hungary, as well as parts of Czechoslovakia that have Germans in it, and giving it to Austria because it was former Austrian land. So after a little bit of a conference, these are the borders. Germany is allowing Austrian supply to go through this area right here to go to this, as like since they're both like like German countries, and they're both kind of friends, and they're both like yeah. But anyway, Austria starts to starts to flip into a Habsburg power again, and they tell that to Hungary, and Hungary rejects because they want their own empire. Because in their eyes, they see the Austro-Hungarian Empire as a failed power, and it won't work again. So they tell that to Austria, and Austria's like, you know what, we'll come back to you later. So you better prepare for our invasion. But meanwhile, they invade Czechoslovakia, and Hungary gets some, and it basically gets divided. Now that Romania has a larger front on with Hungary, they start fearing more of them, but they still have a stronger military than them. But then Bulgaria annexes southern Prussia, and the USSR annexes Moldova, well, the Moldovan regions. They give that back to them though. But Poland eventually annexes that too, so now they're more smaller. But anyway, now Poland has accepted to Germany's Germany's offering, but they did have to lose a lot of land, like to Lithuania and Germany, but that's fine, as they can probably get more from the Soviet Union, even probably getting down here to gain X. What the hell? What the goddamn, dude? What the go? Alright, anyone who updates, if Country Ball World better update the map, because no way that province's hitbox is right there. And I've just clicked right there. My mouse is right there. It's not over there. It's like not over here. It was like right there. That's weird. But anyway, the Soviet Union eventually declares war. Well, no, they don't right now. Not yet. The first thing they do is they demand, like, the western part here. Well, not the western part, the eastern. And they say no, thinking that Germany's gonna back them up. But they don't do it for the early part, as they start pushing into there. But then Germany declares war on the Soviet Union. Oh wait, no, that's the wrong color. And pushes them back. They also push deep into Soviet lands. Well, not that deep, but like eventually gets deep. Until for some reason the German troops just evacuate from there and leave Polish troops to die. And Germany says peace deal with the Soviet Union. They don't lose anything, and they leave Poland out. Poor Poland. And Hungary sees this as a weakened state, so does Austria-Hungary, so they divide Poland up among themselves. And now Romania has a larger front of Hungary. And also Poland is going to get completely annexed by the Soviet Union, and they don't want that. So now the government does not want to be German because Germany basically backstabbed them. But the population comes to a vote, like some of these provinces like decided to be Hungarian. Some of them decided to be German, like either Austria or the German Empire. And some others, rather, like this one wanted to be Lithuanian. And like this one, this one, and this one rather be become rather to become Soviet. So the majority was German. I didn't click. Well, I don't think I did. I was moving my arm, so maybe I accidentally clicked. So anyway, Germany sets up a puppet in Poland. Anyway, now Austria-Hungary, well, not Austria-Hungary, but Austria demands the Yugoslavian Slovenia, and Hungary starts demands a lot from them, as they demand these regions, and they also demand a lot. They also demand these two islands from Italy, which Italy refuses. They also take that. So they go to war with Italy. So does Austria, and Austria has Germany backing them. And out of this war, Austria and Hungary both take a massive beating out of Italy, and Italy surrenders. And since they surrendered early, they didn't really lose much, except for they were kicked off of the area here, as well as they lost some of the Italian peninsula, and some of the land were also given to Switzerland to and also to not get them angry on wanting to asking the population here to joining them, because the population has been rapidly voting and Switzerland was behind that. So they decided to just tell them that they get that in return, that they don't get to lose that, and they're like, sure. But anyway, back to Germany. They take some islands and stuff from Denmark. Then they set up a naval camp right here to prevent any blockades from Britain if they go to war. And meanwhile, back in Argentina, the Fourth Reich, which the third one was not, like, wasn't a good one, decided to take that one from Argentina, and now Argentina was fully not liking this, so they declared war on them, and they eventually just took all their Argentinian lands back, except for the Paraguay ones, except for that one. Now they're much weaker, and they're like, you know what, we can't have this anymore. Let's start doing some aerial invasions on taking some of these weaker ones. Now, any German visitors to any of these regions, and because they disguise it as still their areas, and saying that, yeah, and anyone who goes to like some parts of our like South America, but in reality gets kidnapped by the Fourth Reich, and is forced to become a citizen of the Fourth Reich. And Germany realized that their civilians have been disappearing, so they stopped flights to South America, but it's already too late, as a lot of, um, there's already like 25,000 German Aryan people in the Fourth Reich, instead of like the 500 that they had, as well as like some Argentinian people and other people that they used to fight. So now they just wait until they have a bit large enough army and a large enough population to continue their expansion. So they ask Peru to join them, and Peru's fascist, so like, and they're like, why not? Because we just lost a war with Ecuador, and we know that they're going to be in for round two. Anyway, so now they have like a massive German South American country, but they do, but their lane is split up like they were in 1936. Why is the hitbox? Why is it glowing that again? Alright, what is going on with the paintable world map lately? But anyway, after they have a large enough army, they go to war with Ecuador, and they annex everything. They even um annex some islands over here. Then they announce their presence to Italy, and Italy joins a different faction. They name it the Second Axis because they were allies. They were like the Axis before the Civil War. And for some reason, Italy couldn't help because they were already dealing with some stuff, like the war over in here. But anyway, um, now that they are much stronger, they have their first war with Argentina to connect their lands but not take anything else. Then they establish a pro-German, well, a pro-Nazi government in Chile, which then leads to some of the country joining before the old government managed to take over the rest. So now they invade Chile. Now, where is that? Oh, cheeky. Oh. Now that they invaded Chile, they start with their second campaign against Argentina, which now they capture their capital and they continue going. And now they basically own all of South America. well, the southern part of South America. But back to Europe, the Imperial Germans start by backing up Austria to prepare their invasion into Hungary. But meanwhile, Hungary has invaded Romania, and now Romania is back to their pre-World War I borders. And Hungary has mainly gotten their empire back, but they still aren't done with their expansion. As excuse me, as they expand further into Slavic lands. Eventually, Albania takes some more regions before losing Kosovo, but they did gain Montenegro to um, not for them to not have a second front of invasion on whatever is left of Yugoslavia, as the Hungarians invade the rest of Yugoslavia, taking the rest of their coast, and now now all of Yugoslavia is basically just Serbia and Macedonia and Kosovo. But now Bulgaria invades this part, which Greece is not which Greece is not happy with that, as now they declare war on Bulgaria, but that was a mistake, as they lose. Happily. I like it when Greece loses stuff. I hate Greece. But anyway, Albania gets Kosovo back, and now Serbia is just basically that's all left of Serbia. Now with German support, Austria starts their campaign with annexing some islands around, like, that they annexed around by here. And they also take regions up by there. And now Hungary's mad at that, as they know that they're trying to become more dominant than them. So they take that back, but but they can't. But they lose Bosnia, and eventually they also lose this part of Croatia, and now they're back to their old Now they're back to their old Hungarian medieval empire lands, but Austria doesn't stop there, as they continue to invade. And eventually Hungary surrenders before Romania had something to do, and they also lose that from Austria. Now Austria proclaims Austria-Hungary, and now France and Britain are starting to see that two of their sworn enemies from World War I have been revived. And now Germany's starting to influence Belgium, and France sees that as a threat, so they start preparing by advancing the Maginot to here first, because that will be the quickest way to attack through them, because it's only not that far, and they can just go like. But meanwhile, the Baltics were invaded. Well, the Baltics were annexed by the Soviet Union, but the Soviet Union gave that part of Lithuania to Germany. as a non-intervention because they were thinking about like fighting with the Baltics, but they did make a deal with the Soviet Union. If they give them that, they wouldn't do anything. So the Soviets were like, okay. But anyway, now the Soviet Union goes to war with Finland and actually wraps up a quick win and takes even more than they would have. And why my voice so squeaky? Then Germany decides to change their flag. Oh wait, I forgot that they were the German assembly. And they fully proclaim the empire, Germany. But they're not done yet, as they still have more expansion to do. As they dream to have like one again, like get their revenge harshly on on like the former Entente nations, even their colonies, because the colonies helped out a lot. So the first thing that happens is the Germans start influencing. The first thing that they influence is that they influence the citizens in Alsace-Lorraine, which France noticed that and quickly puts down the riots and strikes and rebels that starts in that area. So that fell to Germany, but they continue to influence Belgium, which actually works, as this area of Belgium becomes German. And since the building of the since the expansion of the Maginot isn't really finished over here, it's a good start for the Germans. Now France and Britain both make a idea together that maybe they can assassinate the current leader of Austria-Hungary and put it with a democratic one, which means that they will keep the empire after it, but after they defeat Germany, they will start dividing stuff. But anyway, they realize after a while the Austrians realize that the Allies, because they both made a new alliance called the Allies, tried to assassinate their leader, but accidentally assassinated one of their high command, which now triggered Austria-Hungary to tell Germany that the Allies done something bad to them, trying to assassinate their leader, to try and make like a democratic Austria-Hungary to backstab you. So now Germany's angry, as now they invade Belgium, and now that Belgium's invaded and destroyed, a puppet state was set up. Well, a puppet government was set up in regions over by there. Germany also annexes this from the Netherlands, and they allow their government to take that. But anyway, now they're ready to go to war with France, and the Schlieffen plan actually works. One, because they cut through here and flanked their like Maginot building there. Now, as German troops started to march to Paris, they managed to stop it just in time. But that doesn't mean that they were able to stop the advances onto the Maginot Line, eventually encircling the Maginot Line and Alsace-Lorraine, meaning that they were gonna start to lose some supply. So the only way that they could give supply is either to have supply trucks drive through Switzerland, which they knew that Switzerland wouldn't accept because they want to stay neutral. So it's either fly, but then German anti-air could shoot down their planes. So they decide to start telling Switzerland if they can have supply planes fly over to reach the Maginot, which they also declined because that would be helping them in the war, and they close their airspace to like the Central Powers and the Allies. So now the Maginot is effed as it collapses, and Paris falls but then gets retaken, and France starts a counterattack, pushing into the Belgian puppet, which, since they forgot about these regions, it started to have an encirclement, like a danger, because Germany was going to encircle them. So they retreated their troops, and they pushed them back to there. Now they have to retreat to defendable ground. And meanwhile, Germany managed to push down by there. Serbia actually joins the Allies to get revenge on Austria-Hungary, but they collapse, and also because Bulgaria wants to get more from them. And as they do that, now Greece also joins the Allies to get revenge on Bulgaria, and they decide to join them. One thing, to have some support, because Bulgaria's army is larger, and they accept as long as that they help them win the war, and they're like, okay. But then Bulgaria joins the Central Powers, and they invite Turkey to reclaim old lands that they want, so Turkey accepts. So now every former nation that was in the Central Powers is back in it, even though that some of them were much smaller before, like the Ottomans, and Bulgaria used to be smaller, but now they're larger. But anyway, that doesn't mean that they had a victory in the Balkans. Now, Bulgaria doesn't grow into Greece, as they allow Turkey to take that, and now Turkey proclaims the Ottoman Empire, and they also annex some of that, which now gets invaded by Italy, and Italy demands that, and they're like, sure, have it. Now the rest of Albania is divided between Austria-Hungary and Bulgaria. Now back to the Western Front, and another thing is Germany doesn't have to worry about an Eastern Front. What the hell happened there? Who is that? Turkey. Allowing more troops to go into there. But anyway, we started to lose a lot. But then Germany completely forgot that they were heading into deep enemy land without a lot of supplies, and without thinking that leaving this area, as well as some parts of this area, could lead to encirclement. So they try to retreat, but some of their troops get encircled, so they're like, you know what, we do not care anymore. We're just pushing to the sea, which was a good thing, as Germany asks for them them to be able to deport some supplies to there to arrive here, which some do, allowing them to connect back to there. And as they start retreating back to run there, now they learn from their mistakes. Solidly on just pushing into there. Since they don't really use tanks, they still keep their old Prussian doctrine of war. So they roll down to southern France and they take Corsica and they cut off mainland France from the Mediterranean. And at this point, most of France, they still fighting, but now Paris is encircled, and after Paris is destroyed, most of their army was destroyed. They only have like 1,000 men after like of like a million, 1,000, like 45,000 of them were stationed on the Maginot, and the others were like either in Africa doing some colonial garden and in mainland France. So anyway, they only have 1,000 left, and they surrender to the Germans. And instead of the Germans being completely going the fascist way, they actually make a treaty with France to one that they get to still retain democracy, to pay like some more, to pay like at least $1 million to Germany because of the harshness that they done to them. It was eventually boosted up to $1 billion, but France was like, well, at least it's better than being like having bad money. But anyway, Germany actually gains some more than the Maginot Line, like in that area. Well, than Alsace-Lorraine. But anyway, Germany has France out the war, but Britain is still fighting. But now we're going to Africa. Let me just pull up a map of Germany's colonial empires in Africa. Well, map of Africa in 1910. Right here. So, that's German. That was German. Any more French things that were German? No, I don't think so. I think Britain mainly stole every German colony. But anyway, Germany gets their old colonies back that France wrongfully took from them, as they see it. But anyway, back to South America and the fascist Nazi Hitler regime in South America. They start preparing to invade Brazil. So So the first thing they do is they start to they decide to wrap around, as in like take countries that border Brazil, except for like countries like that were had European capitals and some other colonies like France, Netherlands, and Britain. So they basically took Colombia and Venezuela. United States actually takes the Panama Canal, which now Panama is basically just this, as German, the Reich take that, and they start their invasion by annexing some regions of Brazil. And Brazil doesn't like that, so they start telling them to give it back, and they say no. But they're like, they can't do anything because their army's larger than them, so they just let it slide. But anyway, so they're still at war with Britain. But that easily changes when Britain decides that it's no use just continuing fighting, because they already have colonies there which they can use to take these areas and to take areas down there. But the population decides that they can still fight. Let me just make sure. Okay. But Germany is still able to start by taking their old lands back. And now Britain pushes them back, but they do lose that, and now Germany launches another landing in British colonies in like a British colony in Africa that was once theirs. And it also goes well, as the troops that they're using used to defend there during the First World War, and they know the terrain there, so Britain actually gets pushed out. So now Britain surrenders, and Germany decides to just take their colonies that they had in Africa as well as in Asia, as they did have some colonies that used to be theirs in Asia. They even invade some of China, and they take Qingdao and this region over here, so they can have a massive foothold in China. They even take the islands here. They even take some islands over here. But oh frig, my phone. But that's basically it for the colonial thing, and they got their revenge. They are kind of content now. They still want to expand, but but they mainly just keep it like that. So anyway, now they end their thing before end it, and before ending their expansion, they finally proclaim one last thing. Let me just get my photos. I'm an angry dog. Ruff. Okay, I hope this is the right one for it. 1, 2, 6, 5, 1, 2, 6, 3, 7, 8, 6. Oh, no, that isn't the wrong one. No, that is actually the wrong one. So let me just 1, 1, 0. Oh, did I get 0? Nope, I didn't.
Sorry guys, I didn't get 0.
36, 45, 1, 5, 7, 2, 4, 2, and up. So now they proclaim the Greater German Empire. And I'm making greater stand out. Now let me just, wait, saves. Let me just, I'm not really using DA anymore, so let's put it as Greater German Empire. So, I hope you guys enjoyed that, and have a good day.